Hey everyone, it's Boardgame Brody here again with Meeple Mountain. I got myself a brand new copy of Point Salad, a card drafting game published by AEG. Point Salad is a quick card drafting game that has very simple rules, but is still intriguing enough for those that usually like meat on their games. Let me tell you 10 things that you need to know about this game. Number 1. The theme. The game actually doesn't really have a theme besides the fact that the name of the game is Point Salad, and it includes 6 different vegetables that is included in some salads. But I personally don't call carrots mixed with tomatoes a salad. So the theme is kind of a stretch, but the name sounds great. Number 2, the components. The game box might throw you off a bit here, but the only components included in this game is a deck of 108 cards. I was surprised, but the card quality seemed to be a little bit low for what I expected, so you'll either need to sleeve your cards or understand that when the cards start looking worse and worse, because you might just use this as your favorite filler game, then you'll need to buy a new copy to replace the worn out one. Number 3, dual action cards. Each card is double-sided. On each side it shows one of the 6 vegetables that can be used to make a set or used to score points in some way or another. The other side shows how you can score points by gathering or by using cards already gathered. In addition, it will show what vegetables on the other side, shown in the triangles on the top left and the bottom right. Cards will be used for one side or the other, and due to this, there is a lot more variation for the game. Number 4, setup. The setup is nice and easy. Depending on how many players you have playing the game, you will either take out a certain number of each veggie or count out and use a certain number of each veggie card. Use this chart in the rulebook to find out how many cards that you will be using. Shuffle all the cards being used in the game and split the pile into 3 stacks about the same size, placing the cards with the scoring side up. Lastly, flip over 2 cards from each pile to the veggie side in a column so that there are 6 total veggie cards out and 3 piles of cards with the scoring side up. Number 5, how to play the game. Players take turns in a clockwise direction doing one of 2 things. First, the player can take any 2 face-up veggie cards of the 6 available, or the player can take one of the face-up score cards of the 3 available on top of each of the piles. In between each player's turn, if a previous player took a veggie card, then they will fill in the spots, flipping over the top card of the stack in front of it, also exposing a new scoring card on top of that pile. There will always be 6 veggie cards out and 3 scoring cards out available for each player until the end of the game when the cards run out. Number 6, it's a filler game. The game plays really fast and would be a great game to either start game night out with or play when you only have a short amount of time to do so, or even to take to a restaurant and play while you wait for your food. Number 7, luck. The game can have a good amount of luck involved as cards come out randomly and might do so in a way that a player might get exactly what they need while another will need to decide on cards that they don't really want anything of. There is still strategy in the game, especially when a player plans or not on choosing a card in a column, so a certain veggie card doesn't come out, or when a player purposely chooses to take a veggie card from an area so that the scoring card that is currently out is flipped over and replaced with a new one. Number 8, 2 to 3 players. The game suggests that for a 2 or 3 player game that you split up the cards according to the rulebook. For a 3 player game, you will have 2 decks with the needed cards so that when you're done with the first round, you can't just discard all those cards and then play the next round super fast. The same for the 2 player game, except you will have 3 decks for the right amount of cards to play with and go through 3 rounds back to back to back. Number 9, my thoughts on the game. Ultimately, this game is one of the best card games that keeps everyone interested in the game. Players who want to interact with others can strategically take cards to hinder their opponents, while others who just want to do their own thing can solely focus on what they're doing and not worry about anyone else. The game works great for 2 players, but can also go up to 6, with the only main difference being that at a higher player count, you will have completely different cards to choose from, and with a low player count, you can hope for certain cards to stay out until it's your turn again. The game can also be enjoyed by young players, as my 5-year-old always wants to play this game with me and she understands it for the most part. But it's also not really a kid's game and can be played with any game group with no problem of being too easy or not enjoyable. Number 10. Strategy. To me, there seems to be better strategies than others in this game, although there is no guarantee that you can pull off any of them, as the cards are completely random. But from what I've seen, the cards that require 3 different veggies that give you 8 points are great cards to grab and mix with other cards that have similar veggies. For example, this card plus this card will give you a lot of points for getting the same type of cards. Then this one might share 2 or 3 veggies that you already are collecting, so it's also a good addition to take. There is a possibility of a player getting these cards that give lots of points for a player counting their cards to get points for 3 different scoring cards. Now, I never mentioned this rule, but once per turn, you can actually flip over one of your point or scoring cards that you drafted and turn it over to the veggie side, as it might score you more points using it as a veggie type than from the scoring part on the other side. This requires some mental math to see if it actually does score more points on one side versus the other, but it might just be worth it to flip it over. Veggie cards, however, can never be flipped into a point card at any time in the game. Last thing I'd like to mention about strategy is you need to know your numbers. Know how many of each veggie cards there are in the game. If you really want a certain card, you can look over and count all the cards of that type already chosen by other players to see if you have a chance to get one of them, or if you should invest your time or your turns into a different scoring method. So make sure you eat up all your veggies with your family and friends in Point Salad by AEG. Again, this is Board Game Brody. I hope you enjoyed this video. Stick around and check out some other board game reviews to see what you might want to get to the table.